Hello and welcome. I'm Jacob Bellotti, joined as always by the very yellow today, Larry Saperstein. Hello.
Hello. Hey, you're also a little yellow.
That's true. We both have a bit of yellow on in
Black
our
and
outfits.
yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
10 seconds. Remember the rule.
Well, and that's not if you sing it. You know what's purple and yellow?
It's our cover art on the show called Let's Talk About That.
All systems are a go.
Talking database activated.
Begin in 3, 2, 1.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what? Let's talk about who? Let's talk about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about that. Girl, I cannot believe we are talking about that.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Let's talk about that. How about that? Well, you know what's yellow, actually? Mac and cheese. And we just had a moment where you got annoyed at me for not seeing mac and cheese that you forgot to put away.
Exactly.
All right. So tell me why that's my fault.
Because, honey,
yeah,
I'm already not having the best day.
Okay. And why is that?
Because, well, this is what I want to talk about. Because okay. Well, there's
settle the mac and cheese first.
No, I feel like I have to tell the story about my day first because it relates. It all concludes with the mac and cheese.
Okay, go ahead.
So I you know, this is hard for me to talk about.
Okay.
I don't really like talking about money things online. I feel like because I was on a TV show, people think that I have millions of dollars, which I do not have. And there's a lot of actors that have been on TV shows that don't have millions of dollars. And, I was very lucky to be on that show, but it's been a few years since the show is done and I don't work regularly. And I try to, I'm not a money spender.
No, you are not. You are very frugal.
And so when High School Musical was happening, right before COVID, right when we started season 2, I bought a car. Okay?
Yes, you did.
During season 1, I rented a car the whole time because I didn't own a car and I had to be in Salt Lake City within like a week and I didn't know what to do. And so I rented a car. But before season 2, I bought a car and I still have that car. It's been 5 years. I bought it in January of 2020 and it is now March, almost April of 2025, right? So obviously there's things that like need to get done on the car, but I have really tried my best to like take care of the car as best I can. I drive the car every time I drive, but like I don't put a crazy amount of miles on this car. Well, the leather on the inside of my car, there's like these. See, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Oh my God! No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at the length of this story.
It's important.
Okay. All right.
It's important.
Okay. All right.
I'm having not the best day, and I'm airing it out on the podcast, which is my right.
Yes, it is, and I'm trying to be here in a supportive capacity.
So the leather on,
if not slightly argumentative.
Yeah, slightly. The slightly police are going to come for you.
Come on, we got to have some tension.
We're working through it.
We got to have some tension on the podcast, right? That's it's interesting.
So the leather on the driver's seat is starting to wear down. Like it's like flaking off almost.
Yeah.
How would you describe? Is that how else can I describe this?
The faux leather is starting to flake.
Yes, the faux leather. It's not real leather.
Yes, but that's why it's starting to flake. Real leather wouldn't flake like that.
Right.
Faux leather flakes.
So and it's just frustrating because, the car is only under warranty for 3 years and I've had the car for 5 years and it's like So I want to try and get it fixed, but I don't know how expensive that's going to be, and I can't spend like $2,000 on a new driver's seat for my car. That's just ridiculous.
Right.
So I have been going back and forth with like the people at Nissan. I called the people. They told me that to take it back to the dealership and, see what they could do. So I went there today and told them, what the people on the Nissan, customer affairs said.
Yeah.
And as they're like taking pictures of my seat, the service guy is like, you have a really big nail in your tire. And I was like, okay, I didn't notice that. And most of the time when you have like a nail in your tire, it's very easy for them to just take the nail out and patch it up. But of course, the way my nail was in the tire, it's like
Your nail.
Yeah, it's like completely sideways, and they can't. He was like, if we take it out, the tire was probably gonna like shred or whatever. And then he started actually looking at my tires, and he was like, when was the last time you got new tires? And I was like, never. I've never gotten new tires. I didn't know how long tires last on a car. And so he was like, well, these tires are good for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I've had the car for 5 years. So the tires are starting to like crack, basically. The rubber on the tires is starting to crack. And that's not a very good thing, because if something happens while you're driving, then your tire will pop, which is very bad.
Right.
So he was like, I strongly recommend that you get new tires like as soon as possible. And I was like, okay, what would that cost? And then he looks me dead in the eyes and says $750.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money for new tires. I didn't know that tires were so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on where you get them from.
And I asked him, I was like, is there somewhere where it would be cheaper? And he was like, well, actually, it would probably be more expensive because they were actually doing a deal where I only paid for 3 tires and the 4th tire was free. So like Costco has tires, but I looked online and those tires are like about the same amount of money. It was like $230 a tire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then that becomes the same like $750-ish. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, but you got the new tires.
So I got the new tires because I have to get the new tires, and I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh.
Gross. Anyway, so I got the new tires.
At some point, we have to make a compilation of Larry's sneezes.
I think it's
podcast.
happened in 2 episodes.
I think 3.
It's not really much of a compilation.
Okay, well, we could have a 4-episode compilation of your sneezing.
So
I'm just trying to think about promo for season 2, okay?
After the next sneezing, you want to make a compilation.
No, this is the 4th time, so we could make a
this is the 4th time.
Right, so we could make a compilation of your sneezes. Because you sneezed in the episode with Matt Cornett. You sneezed... we had a social media poll.
Yeah, it was in like our 2nd episode ever.
Yeah, and then I think you sneezed during Dara's too.
Do you just have like a catalog of my sneezes?
No, I'm just remembering the sneeze moments on the podcast.
Yeah.
Fondly. I'm remembering them fondly.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. So, can I finish my story? And I need to relate it back to the mac and
it's been 8
cheese.
minutes, sweetie. Wrap it up.
It's good. We need to fill time.
All right.
So,
No.
what?
We don't need to fill time.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. We have a lot to talk about today that's planned on the agenda.
Well, my problems are important, and there's a whole segment called Let's Talk About Us, which we've been steamrolling over recently. And I finally have something that I want to talk about, and you're over here making faces.
I'm not making any
Yes, you are.
faces.
Yes, you are.
What, honey, you're being exceptionally combative today.
Because I want to air my grievances.
Okay, well, finish airing them. This is the time.
So, then I come home, and I was not expecting to leave my car at the dealership all day.
Yeah.
But I come home and I'm like, what do you want for lunch? And of course, then this is another argument.
This what?
Not an argument.
This is the speed of this story. You're asking what I wanted for lunch now in the story?
Yes.
All right, so we had chicken nuggets and mac and cheese for lunch.
This is the combative energy that you're giving.
No,
That is what that was. That was combative.
How is that combative?
Because you're not letting me tell my story at the speed that I want. I think the viewers think it's an interesting story.
About making mac and cheese
It's
and
not
having
about
to replace
making
tires.
the story is not about making mac and cheese. Making mac and cheese is just part of the story.
Okay, continue, please.
That would be like saying that
No,
Harry
no,
Potter
no,
is
no.
about nearly headless Nick.
No.
It's just a detail in the story.
No. Continue the story.
So then I make mac and cheese with some chicken nuggets for lunch for both of us, I may add. Okay?
Okay.
And I was pretty
And
hungry.
I said, "Thank you, honey.
You
this
did
is wonderful."
say thank you, honey. So I was pretty hungry. So then I sit down and we eat the mac and cheese and chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Now, it's customary that when one person cooks, the other person cleans. Okay, that's customary.
I totally agree.
Well, then you're about to be eating your own words.
Okay.
Because after we ate, I was working on some graphic design stuff for our podcast.
Yeah.
And I was feeling a bit sleepy because I didn't sleep very well last night because I was having tummy trouble.
Yes, you were having tummy troubles.
And I understand you were working and you were getting some things done for work.
So let's establish that. I have been hired, contracted, if you will,
Yes.
to do a job.
I understand that.
For a television development, thing. And I have to do the work for that job.
I understand
in order to
that.
pay my bills as well.
I understand that.
Okay.
So you were doing that.
Yes.
And when I was done with the stuff that I was doing, I was feeling quite sleepy. And I said, I'm going to lay down for a little bit, maybe do some reading, maybe sleep. Okay? So I fell asleep. Then we wake up. I wake up. And then you come into the room and you're like, I want to lay down too.
Yeah.
So then we both lay down.
Yeah.
Then we wake up.
You're skipping some details.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
So then we get a phone call and oh my gosh, my car is ready. So then I get up and look, all the plates from lunch are still on the table.
Okay. So let's pause here. All right. So today we both had car appointments in the morning.
This is true.
I had to get my engine change, which, by the way, or my oil change, and a lot of other things came up during it. I ended up spending $235 today.
I know.
This
I
morning.
know.
And then I went over to the Nissan to be able to pick you up when you had to leave your car there.
Yes, you
and
did.
drove you home.
Yes, you did. And you got a
Then-
free car wash, which I did not get.
Yes, I did, because
And you're
Subaru.
and we're driving home, by the way, and you're like, oh my gosh, what a successful morning. I did all the things I need to do. And I'm like, well, I just got charged $750 for new tires, which I was not expecting.
Okay, well, I was having a decent morning.
Yes, you were very chipper.
And then I came back, I started working, which is the
Yes.
job I was hired to do.
I understand.
And I was doing that, and you graciously made lunch, which I thanked you profusely for.
No, you
Then-
said thank you one time.
But I said it like this. Thank you, honey.
You
That's
did.
so nice."
You did. You did.
Yeah, I said it in such a pleasant demeanor.
Yes.
Then after we ate, I had to go back to work, and I was working very hard. Then I came into the bedroom, and and then when you got the call from Nissan, what did I do? I drove you back to Nissan.
Yes.
Like a courteous, gracious person. Then you come back from Nissan after I had to drive back, which, by the way, I'm spending my gas money taking you to Nissan.
Honey, it's 10 minutes down the road.
But I am happy to do it for you. Then I get back and you go into the kitchen and you're just you go, what the hell? What the hell? You were like, this is unacceptable. You were like, this is ridiculous. You were like, honey, how could you not have put the mac and cheese that I made away in the fridge?
That's not what I said.
And literally, I'm just standing here, trying to love you, trying to, make you feel loved. And I am getting viciously attacked about mac and cheese.
I actually didn't even say that you should have put the mac and cheese away. What I said was, oh, shit. And then I looked in and saw that the pot of mac and the rest of the mac and cheese, I forgot to put it away.
Yeah.
And all of the plates from before were still on the table. Meanwhile, you were up for like an hour while I was sleeping. And I wish that you had thought to maybe take those plates, not even wash them. I'm not even asking you to wash them. I just wish that you had taken them and maybe put them in the sink and maybe given them a rinse. And then, what I actually said was, shit, I didn't put the mac and cheese away. And then I was like, honey, and you were like, what? And I was like, I just wish. Oh, I said, did you go into the kitchen? And you said, no. And then you had a guilty look on your face because what actually happened is you took your bowl.
No, that's not what happened.
Is what happened.
No, it's not. I didn't have a bowl. I only had a plate.
You had the bowl from your cereal.
Yeah, I took that in earlier, and I just
you took that in after we were done with lunch.
No.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. Oh my God, you're gaslighting me. No. Yes, you did.
The reason I went into the kitchen. Can I? The reason I went into the kitchen is because this is so stupid. Because I was filling my fucking water bottle with the Brita, and that only required me to be on the right-hand side of the kitchen. And the mac and cheese. The mac and cheese was on the left-hand side of the kitchen.
That is the flimsiest argument I have ever heard in my life.
Not. So I didn't see it. And all of the things, even the things we won't talk about on this podcast, that I did today to make you feel loved, just went out the window. Huzzah! Because the fucking mac and cheese is sitting on the counter that you made and you knew about. And for all I knew, you had put it away when you made the mac and cheese and dished it out. I assumed that once you had made the mac and cheese, you had scooped the rest of it into a Tupperware and put it in the fridge. How am I supposed to know that there's mac and cheese on the left-hand side of the kitchen?
And here's my argument. Because you're taller than me. And you can see.
And taller. And the stove is at this height, Larry. It's not fucking 8 feet tall.
Because you're tall enough where you can be on the right. It's not a very big kitchen. It's not the kitchen at Versailles.
And by the way, while you're coming at me about the dishes, for the record, I do your dishes all the time. Just yesterday, literally yesterday, I washed all of your dishes.
I think it was 2 days ago.
I washed all of your dishes for you.
Yes, I'm not here's the thing. What I actually said to you though was, did you go into the kitchen? And I knew that you had gone into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And what I said was, I just wish you had seen that and reminded me to put it away. I wasn't even asking you to put it away. What I was asking of you.
But honey, I didn't see it. I
don't believe that.
See it.
I just don't believe that.
You don't believe that I don't believe
that you didn't see it, that you were on one side of the sink and then a pot with half-full mac and cheese was on the other side of the sink.
But I wasn't
and you
looking
didn't see
for
it.
a pot. I wasn't looking for mac and cheese. There was nothing that would indicate me looking for mac and cheese when I went into the fucking Villa Britta.
All I was asking was
Britta, we love you.
Britta, we love you. All I was asking was for you to be a little bit more observant. That was it. I wasn't asking you to do anything else.
I
be
just
a little
can't
more
believe
observant.
after all of the love I've shown you today, you get furious with
I
me.
wasn't even
You
furious.
so were.
No, I wasn't. I
You
was
so-
annoyed for 5 seconds.
And then you didn't say anything to me, and you kept moving
because I was setting up for the
around.
podcast.
My God. I mean, really,
I was
Larry.
not furious with you. That is the thing. I was not furious with you at all. I was a little annoyed because I threw out like a bunch of mac and cheese that I would have eaten. That's why I was annoyed.
But that's not my fault.
Well, honey, everything is a 50-50 fault.
Oh, I'm going to remember that one. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to use that one in the future then.
I never tell you, oh, that's not my fault. Name one time that something bad has happened to you and I said, no, not my fault.
Excuse me, there are plenty of occasions that I could name where that would have happened, but we simply don't have time for that because
We do have time.
Because we're supposed to be talking about traveling in this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, and I
had to travel to the dealership twice today.
and I traveled with you both times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was the one who took you there.
See, this car situation is somewhat related to travel. because what do we do with our cars? What do we do with our cars? We travel.
All right, so we're moving on from the mac and cheese debacle. I mean, this is really going to become known as the mac and cheese incident in this household, okay?
The mac and cheese. Wait, what do they say? It's mac and cheese gate.
Mac and cheese gate? Okay. all right.
Cheese gate.
Cheesegate. Well, you just made me think of cheesecake. Now I want cheesecake. Anyway, I love you.
Cheesecake Factory?
I would love to go to the Cheesecake Factory.
But I actually don't even really want to go to Cheesecake Factory because it's so expensive.
Oh, well, I mean, the chicken Bellagio there. Wow.
So good.
You know,
We've already talked about that on this
that just
podcast.
my memory neurons just fired there.
Even if I'm not the one paying, I still get like freaked out about when things are so expensive.
Yes, you do. You are exceptionally frugal and good with money.
Good with money or just cheap?
You are frugal.
You think I'm cheap?
No, I do not think you're cheap. That would be a horrible thing to say about you. And that's not what I'm saying about you.
You think I'm cheap?
No, I do not.
All right, talk about traveling.
I
which
love
we'll
you
never go. We'll never take another trip again because I'm too cheap.
I love you very much.
Yeah. Love you too.
Can you say it in a nicer way?
I love you as well. Also.
That
In
more
addition.
felt like bookending an argument. Can you say it in a nice way?
Let me get there. Talk about traveling.
Get there, please.
I love you.
Thank you. See,
You're welcome.
that was so nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we love each other, and we're talking about traveling.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned traveling about 8 times this episode and have not yet talked about it.
I disagree. I think we've talked about traveling for the last 23 minutes. Oh my God. 23
That's what I
minutes.
told you. You were like, no, it's important I tell all the details of this story. And the story was fucking 15 minutes long.
I literally thought that we had been talking for like 8 minutes.
Larry, I told you the story was ridiculously long, okay? And that we had other things to talk about today. And you just had to come after me and attack me relentlessly.
I'm like so gagged that was 24 minutes.
Yes, you totally attacked me for 24 minutes. And here we are talking about travel.
I was not attacking.
So my favorite traveling, I wanted to talk about this because I've had quite a lot of experience in the travel department.
As have I.
Which is something like a lot of people might not know.
Yeah.
I'm realizing. But I've had 2 main big traveling things, okay? So the first one was in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was in 2018. So actually the first one was in 2018 and the second one was in 2020.
Absolutely.
And the first of which was living in France. I've mentioned it maybe on the pod before, but I don't think I've ever really talked about it.
Yeah.
But I went and studied in France for 6 months. during college when I was in university.
Yeah.
And I lived with a host family that didn't speak any English.
Yeah.
And all my classes were in French.
Yeah.
And I just had the absolute best time of my life, going around to 12 different European countries and seeing all the spectacular sights of Europe.
Did you feel like you spoke like only French like most days?
Yes.
So there were days where like from sunup to sundown you spoke no English.
Yes. 100%.
That's wild. Did you start thinking in French?
Yeah, I did. I definitely did.
Wow.
For a while during it. Yeah, it was really the most thrilling time of my life. You know, and I'd say like I lived in Strasbourg, France. Okay,
Yeah.
So if you want to look it up, it's the most magical fucking place on the planet. It's like being in Beauty and the Beast.
Aw. Probably
and
what Beauty and the Beast was based on.
like literally. And it is the worldwide capital of Christmas. So
Yeah.
their Christmas markets are extraordinarily famous because it's like so decked out. And I happened to be there also during the holiday season, which was magical.
Yeah.
So I have nothing but wonderful things to say about that. And I was wondering if you've ever been to Europe.
Yes, I've been to Europe.
Where?
Italy.
Oh, right. You
Yeah.
went on a
And
high
Romania.
School, a high school. Well, is Romania is
Eastern
kind of.
Europe.
Yeah,
Eastern Europe.
it's like Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went when I was in my senior year of high school. We had like the Foreign Language Honor Society, it was called. We had like National Honor Society as well, but then they had this like other group called the Foreign Language Honor Society, and I was in that because of like my grades in my like Spanish class. And basically our school wasn't that big, so the year before my year was the first year that they did it. They implemented they wanted to start doing a trip with the Foreign Language Honor Society every year. And my school only offered like 2 languages that you could study. It was Spanish or Italian. And because there weren't enough students to do both trips every year, they decided to alternate. So one year would be Spain, and then the next year would be Italy, and then Spain, Italy, Spain, Italy.
Got it.
My year happened to fall on the year of Italy, even though I studied Spanish.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it was kind of silly that we went to Italy.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that went like studied Spanish, and it would have been more like enriching to like my education.
Sure.
If I had gone to Spain.
Sure.
But I happened to get a lot out of going to Italy because of how much I love art.
Right. Of course.
And so like for me, the Italy trip was less about the Italian language, and it was more about like going to all the museums, like seeing the David in person, and like seeing the Colosseum and seeing the Duomo and like all of the beautiful architecture. Like that was amazing for me because I was like really into that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was into that stuff in college as well. And
I gotta take you to France. I mean,
I know. I can't wait to go.
You will love France.
I know. I'm very excited for whenever we go.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the thing about that trip though was because we were under 18, and it was like my voice is going because of how much I was
screaming at me. Yes, screaming at me.
No, I'm just a little phlegmy.
Yeah.
Anyway, because we were like, in high school, it was very like structured trip, which is, people say this, but like, it's crazy that in the Lizzie McGuire movie, she was in middle school and was able to sneak out and all this stuff.
Yes.
Because I was 17, a full like 6 years older than Lizzie McGuire, and was like, shackled, couldn't go anywhere.
So interesting you say that, because that totally just brought to mind a couple things for me, because I actually did do a couple trips with school too, like in high school, and middle school. But
you went to Europe in middle school?
No, I went to Canada in middle school with a French class trip. We went to Quebec
That's wild.
City and Montreal. And I remember though, I also went to Italy, but that trip was with the band and orchestra, and we went and we played in cathedrals in Italy.
That's very cool.
We did like northern Italy, so we went from like Venice across to Alba and like a few more stops, and then ended up in Milan.
We did the western coast of Italy, so we went to Florence, Rome, Vatican City, and then down to like Capri.
Right. I didn't do that until I lived in France. Like that's when I hit that part of Italy.
Gotcha.
But the northern Italy trip was also spectacular, and I did that in high school. But my point I was going to say was we had a lot of free reign. Like we
That's
like
wild.
Like I would like go with like, you know, the people I was friends with, and we would like just go to cafes and like walk around Italy and do whatever.
We had like free time where it was like within this boundary. We
would all drink wine at like meals and stuff.
Oh, they wouldn't let us do that because even though it was, some of us were 18. I think I was 18 at the time. But they were like, because we're still, you know, we're being supervised by the school. So even though you're in a foreign country, like you're under school rules.
Yeah, but
which is like, don't drink.
Yeah, but isn't it like, you know, it was fun. We had the same policy, of course, but you know.
Yeah,
like,
but we were not from New Jersey. So they weren't.
That is true. That is true. New Jersey, you know, a little more lenient on that stuff.
They're like, drink wine.
Yeah, they're like, go have a good time.
Yeah, we were not like that. But I loved it. And then when I was in college, I went to Romania. Should we take a break and then I'll talk about my Romania story?
Yeah, I would love to hear about Romania right after this.
I'm a little phlegmy.
I know, because you were screaming at me.
I was not screaming.
And we're back.
So when I was in college, I went to Romania.
Yeah.
I also went to Israel. But that's not Europe, though. We're talking about Europe.
You did birthright already.
I did birthright.
I'm sad because now we can't do it together.
Yeah, but also I think you might be aged out.
No, they extended it to like 35.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like.
Yeah, we can't do it together, but I mean, birthright. We can talk about birthright after. It's propaganda, but like it is kind of cool, or it was at the time.
Okay.
I don't know about now. Now I would feel really weird, but at the time it was cool. Anyway, so Romania though, Romania was interesting because I went for a theater festival.
Yes.
And it was like a European theater festival where there were people from all over Europe, really, all different countries. And we were seeing theater in all different languages.
Yeah.
And they would have, and it was very like avant-garde. Like they would set up theaters. It was in a city in Romania called Sibiu, which is like 45 minutes away from Transylvania.
Yeah.
And they don't really have that many theaters in this city.
Any vampires?
What?
Any vampires around?
Well, we almost went to like the Dracula castle. You
That
can
would've been
like
cool.
go and like see, you know, the Dracula's castle.
That
you
would
know?
have been cool.
I know. I would have loved to see that, but we didn't really have the time because we had to like do our performances and stuff. And we were like there and we wanted to see all the other shows, or, you know, as many shows as we could. But they basically set up theaters like all over. There's some that they set up outdoors. They set them up in like gyms, like community centers, just like all over this like city.
Yeah.
They do like outdoor like parade theater festivals. There was like art installations. Like it was really, really cool. And some of the shows were like maybe too kind of like avant-garde for me, or like, I didn't quite understand them, but then some of them were really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember there was like a play version of like the Greek tragedy Medea that was like all done with like one person and like someone making all these different sounds with like a soundboard. And that was really cool. And there was a play called The Tree, but it was in a
Idina
different.
Menzel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it was in a different language. I don't remember what language it was in. The title, but the show actually had like 7 different languages in it, and it was
That's
like
too much.
But it was really cool. It was really cool. It was like
So you have to know 7 languages
no,
to get the whole play.
No, because they would do like transcription.
Oh yeah.
Or
yeah,
what's
yeah.
that? What is that? That's not the right word.
Translation.
Like there would be like captions that they would project.
Yeah. Well,
And-
okay, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I know they do that because I happened to be in Vienna when the Vienna Film Festival was happening.
Oh,
And I was able to like finagle my way into one of those, and they did the same thing.
That's very cool.
With the captions.
yeah,
projected.
and they would do them in like most of the time it was like Romanian and English.
Yeah.
Because English is very accessible in Europe,
Yeah.
and Romanian was the host country's language.
Absolutely.
And so that play was super cool because it had words in it, but it was also kind of more of like a movement like show, and it was about how all these different like communities of people like use nature, and it was like the businessman wants to like take the nature apart and like sell it, and then like the monks want to use the nature for like for their spiritual growth, and the mother and the child, like it was all that kind of stuff. Like it was like a holistic view of like different people and cultures and like how they use like nature. It was very cool.
Did they have mac and cheese there?
I don't remember. Probably.
Okay.
I do remember that at that time I could drink in Europe. I think I was 19. Maybe I was 20
Right. So you were about 3 or 4 years into your drinking life.
I guess. I never really drank that much, and I don't drink at all now.
Yes.
But at that time I could drink, and the alcohol was so cheap.
Yes, that is a big thing in Europe.
Yes.
Alcohol is not
It was
as
like
expensive.
1 lei, they call it.
Oh, a lei.
Which
Why weren't they on the euro? They're not part of the European Union?
I don't know. I guess not.
By the way, European Union headquarters are in Strasbourg, France. Bet you didn't know
Wow,
that.
interesting. Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, or maybe it was 4 lei for a shot, and 4 lei came out to $1.
Yeah, well, I had that experience when I was in Poland.
Okay.
And in Poland,
Similar.
yeah,
Romania, Poland.
Like, you could get like a full 3-course most delicious meal you've ever had for like $4.
Yeah.
Like it was like really crazy.
Yeah. You'd get it and it comes back and it's like 20 euros or whatever, and then that's like, how much is that? That's like $16 or something.
20 euros? That's
Yeah.
like $22.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, because now the euro is more. Does that mean the euro is more valuable than the dollar now?
You know,
Something like that,
I've never
right?
been good at that, like knowing that term, but I know that theirs is more than the dollar.
More than the dollar, or
Like
That
1
makes it-
euro is like 120 something US
so it's less than
dollars.
a dollar,
No, it's like $1.20 something.
right?
Is
But
1 euro.
I think that makes it more valuable
Right.
than the dollar.
Right. Like, so, for
'Cause, like-
instance, in UK traders, when they use pounds, right?
Right.
The prize pot is like
120,000 pounds.
pounds, but that's actually like $200,000,
Right.
you know?
Right.
The way it like converts.
Yes.
But yes, I had a similar experience to you when I was in Poland, for sure, about things being very cheap.
Yeah. That's what it is in Europe, which I love.
Me too. I love almost everything about Europe. I've had the time of my life there. Like, really, no complaints at all about that.
I'm ready to move.
I know.
What do we do? How do we move?
Well, moving to London is different than moving to like Europe because UK Brexited.
Right.
So it's like not,
So there's
it's
different rules.
Different rules to look into with that. But, Europe is great. The other big trip I took was a road trip around the United States of America.
Yeah.
Hitting like 40 states or something, and 20 national parks.
Yeah. And you have a podcast about it.
I did have a podcast.
Traitor! No,
Okay,
you did that first.
That podcast was way before this podcast, so you can chill. Okay. Okay. That was called Road Boys. You can stream it on any platform. And we outlined every stop that we went to and its history and all that stuff. It's not like so much like a silly, ridiculous podcast like this.
Excuse me, this is not ridiculous. We change lives here at Let's Talk About That.
That is true. We
Okay.
have had people write us whose lives we've changed.
We change lives.
We do, 100%.
I will not hear silly or ridiculous.
But we change lives by talking about silly and ridiculous things.
This is true.
So stupid. And that trip, by the way, was spectacular. And my main takeaway from that trip is that the United States should not be one country. Hot take here.
No, that's not a hot take. I am for it. Cal exit.
Cal exit.
Cal
exit, honey. Cal exit.
Calexit. I would vote in favor, honey.
Yes, but truly there are so many differences in lifestyle, like between different areas of the United States and needs and priorities. Like farmland has different priorities than plains, and plains have different priorities than desert people, and desert people have different priorities than like city, There's like so many different
the desert people.
The mountain people.
Mountain people. I'm sure they love that you're just calling them mountain people, desert people.
Quite frankly, I'm a lot of those people. Okay. Like I was a northeastern person. I was a desert person. I was a Los Angeles person.
When were you a desert
I've been
person?
a mountain person. I've been many different types of people.
When were you a desert person?
During my trips to New Mexico and Arizona.
There's only one of us who's lived in a desert-esque region.
No, you lived in a mountain region.
Salt Lake City, Utah?
That's a mountain region.
I think that's kind of a mountainous desert.
It's a mountain region that is a mile higher than sea level.
So it can't be a desert because it's a mile high?
It's in mountains. I don't know how else to explain that to you besides that it's in mountains. It's a mountain region.
I think it could still be considered a desert, though.
I think you could be considered annoying.
Oh, so the truth comes out. Now you're coming for me.
I am coming for you after the vicious attacks that have
There were no vicious attacks.
Roll the tape.
And you were the one who gaslit me.
That's not true.
You said I didn't go into the kitchen.
Well, you seemed angry.
So that means lie?
So I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. So what I'm hearing is I seemed slightly annoyed, so you lied.
I only went kitchen right, and what you needed was on kitchen left. So chill out.
The kitchen right versus kitchen left.
God, what are we doing here? What was your worst travel experience ever?
Ooh,
Can't have been anything for Disney because you were first class, honey, every time.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like the most exciting. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't really all travel. That was just kind of like coming to Salt Lake
Hey,
City.
you, average,
like,
let's talk about that, viewer. Have you ever been in a bed on a plane? Because Larry has, while the rest of us have not.
Yeah, but that's like, I don't know if that falls under the category of travel. Like,
But
that's like work.
Work can be travel.
Like work, it's travel for work.
It's literally called work travel. Okay.
Work, travel, travel, work.
What's your worst
work,
travel
work.
experience ever?
I don't know. I have to think.
Well, I told you we were talking about traveling. You didn't think about different traveling things before the episode?
Honey, you told me we were talking about traveling about 5 minutes before we started the
That's not
episode.
true, Ellen. It was when I was driving you to Nissan and you had a whole car ride home to think about it.
Oh, my Lord. I do remember a time when I was very young
Yeah.
where we got like stranded in the airport and like
Mm.
flights weren't leaving.
Yeah.
And
What airport?
I don't remember. I was like really, really young.
Oh, okay.
I think we were going from like Florida to New York kind of thing. And, visiting my grandparents. And our flight got like rerouted because of a storm. And maybe it was like Cincinnati
Oh my
or
God.
something like that.
Oh.
And we were like stranded overnight and like we're like basically gonna like sleep on the floor of the airport and then like miraculously like got like a voucher for a hotel room because of like one of the airport people like saw us like sitting and they were like, we'll give you a voucher. I don't know exactly. I know I was like really young, like maybe like 6 years old.
Okay.
And I remember that being very stressful for my father.
Yeah.
I feel like generally I try to have a positive outlook on travel.
Yeah.
I've never had like my bags lost. Have you ever had that?
No, I have not.
I try to just like stay cool about it because I know a lot of people get very anxious, especially about planes and like just like
This feels a little targeted.
no. I'm just saying like my mother she never wanted me to fear traveling.
Yeah.
And so she always like packaged it as like it's an adventure.
Right.
And so because of that, I feel like I am a little bit more like it's an adventure.
Yeah. No, I get that. I used to feel that way. And then I got panic disorder. And since that, traveling has been a lot more difficult.
Right.
For me. But I used to always love like getting on planes and going places. That was like, I loved it. I would do it all the time. And fun fact, turbulence never bothered me until post.
Well, turbulence actually
Disease.
turbulence actually really isn't that bad.
Well, I don't. If you're saying that, I don't think you've ever been in real and intense turbulence.
Well, one time I was flying when I went to South by Southwest and I was going back to Salt Lake City from Austin.
Mm-hmm.
We did hit like a bump and the plane went like it was like boom. it was like we're going down and then it just leveled out. It was fine.
Listen, turbulence in the moment can be extraordinarily frightening.
Yes, I'm not saying that it's not frightening, but what I'm saying is it's actually not really like that much of a grave danger to the flight.
But that being said, representations of turbulence are always hilarious. Like the story you just told is hilarious. Jerome, our producer, has a great story about flying to Denver.
Oh yeah,
and having like the worst turbulence ever. And then when they landed, he didn't realize Denver was 5,000 feet above the ground.
Right.
So when they landed, he thought the plane exploded.
Well, he was looking at the height,
The
altitude, like
and
screen.
He thought the plane exploded when they landed. And I mean, anytime you see turbulence in a TV show, it is so funny. Like, the nanny. It happened, which is
you
hilarious.
don't have to worry unless the flight attendants are scared and then they run.
Yeah, the Golden Girls, very funny when they did turbulence.
Yeah.
And of course the comeback, very hilarious. Lisa Kudrow when they were flying to Upfronts in New York City.
Oh,
and she has to crawl. She sees them filming an interview in coach, and she goes up to like be in the shot, and then turbulence starts, and she has to like crawl back to first class. I mean, iconic, you know.
I will say, I think that like those depictions of flying in like the 90s and the 80s
Yeah.
are silly because I think I do think that at the time it was probably more scary. Like
maybe not.
But I think
but
now
it was
it's
also
like
way
all,
more comfortable.
Yeah, but
Okay,
now
let's
with
talk
like,
about that.
Yeah,
It
let's
was-
talk about comfort on planes.
It was way more comfortable. The seats were so much bigger. They were way cushier.
Yeah, now they just cram you into the little steel tube.
I know, and those like it was like a much more comfortable. They would have full meals. They don't do meals anymore.
Can I just say,
Yeah,
and maybe it worked out fine, but I really did not like how when we flew American, the most recent time, American, I'm coming for you.
okay.
They did not have screens on the seat. And instead we're like, you can log in with your personal device and access our online like library of movies and stuff.
Well,
and you
it's
have to
actually nice. We watched The Wild Robot on your laptop, which was better than watching it on like a smaller screen.
Yeah, but it's like the thing about the screen that is nice is that the tray then is free space. So then when you get your snack and when you get your drink,
Of which there's not much anymore.
They still do the snack and the drink.
Yeah, but they do like little tiny snacks now, and it used to be much more fruitful.
Maybe, but they still give you like a full can of Coke or whatever.
Listen, the second they banned cigarettes from planes, that was the end of class on planes.
Honey.
Okay, that was No, it's true.
They've banned cigarettes from everywhere. Say people used to smoke indoors everywhere.
I totally understand that, but that was the end of traveling in class, because
when did they ban cigarettes? Like the 80s?
Yeah. And like that is when, or maybe the 90s, and that's when comfort in aircrafts decreased, because it used to be about the customer experience. Now it's how many bodies can we cram into a plane.
I think the other thing was at the time air travel was less affordable, and so really the people who were flying, people did not fly as often. People didn't fly as often for work, and
I don't think that's true. I think it was as affordable.
No. It's gotten way like it's true. Air travel, even though yes, it's like $300 a ticket, whatever. But like in general, it's gotten more affordable and accessible.
But it's much worse than it used to be
because there's more people, there's more demand, and less ability to like have, you know what I mean?
That's not true. There is ability. It would just mean they make a slight less profit.
Well, yes.
In what they're
airlines
doing.
are terrible with like price gouging and stealing
absolutely
money.
So your worst travel experience was
that the sleeping in the airport.
Got it.
But I mean, I don't know. I've never when I went to Israel, I was pretty sick for a few days because it's when you go across the world, your body has to like adjust. It's different air, it's different water, it's different like time, the time difference. Like I was really upset because I was like, I'm only here for like 20 days or whatever, and like 5 of those days I'm sick. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then after I got over it, like my feeling sick, I loved Israel. I had a great time there. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I felt very connected to my Judaism.
There you go. That's wonderful. My worst travel experience? I don't know. There's a few, because there was a time when I had food poisoning on a plane.
Oh God.
Which is really the tea and the worst thing. So like that was terrible. There was a particular flight I took from Paris to Italy, somewhere in Italy, where it was Sicily maybe.
Okay.
No, not Sicily. I can't remember where I flew into, but that flight was in like one of those small planes.
Yeah.
And the turbulence was like unbelievable.
Oof.
Like really intense turbulence, and that was like very unpleasant.
They still give you food on European airlines. Like when you fly like Lufthansa, they'll give you like they'll give you like
they do.
a sandwich.
They care more about your comfort in Europe than they do in America.
Yes.
But neither of those hold weight to the worst traveling like day I've ever had, which was going to Berlin from JFK. Okay, first of all, JFK is like one of the worst airports ever. It
It's
sucks.
just scary. It's a scary, there's a lot of people.
It sucks. It's a horrible airport.
Yeah.
And that was for when I started my 6 months abroad. I was flying
Right.
into Berlin first. So I had I had a
Lufthansa.
class that was a 2-week seminar.
Yeah.
Like it was a full college class that was a 2-week seminar before the semester started.
Okay.
And that was like traveling to different countries and learning European history and stuff. And so the first one was Germany, and we went to Berlin first. And that flight, it was one of those flights that has the 3 rows in it
like
instead
the 2,
of 2.
3, and the 2 or something.
No, it's 3, 3, and 3.
Oh, okay.
All next to each other. I was in the middle of the middle
Oof.
in economy.
Yeah.
Like basic economy.
Yeah.
No legroom whatsoever.
Yeah.
2 people on either side of me that might have overtaken their allotted space.
Okay. Okay.
And the person in front of me leaned their thing all the way back. And so I was trapped. And the flight was 9 hours.
Yeah.
9 hours of sitting there, stuck in the middle of the middle on a
Right.
flight. Like, no, not even like, because, normally you can choose like, okay, well, at least I'll be like, if I'm in the middle, at least there's a window on one side that I can look out of and like
Right.
the aisle on the other. I had neither
Right.
of those things.
You just have to like cocoon yourself and tune yourself out for 9 hours.
Yeah, it was absolutely the worst flight experience I have ever had in my life. And then I got there and slept in hostels for 2 weeks with 8 other people in the room.
Right.
And so it's just like that was like crazy and
Yeah.
like made me think, oh my God, did I make a mistake? But then everything after that was incredible.
Yeah.
So-
Right.
But worst travel like ever for me.
on that thought of like, I might have told this story on the podcast already, but on that thought of like, holy shit, did I make a mistake?
Yeah.
When I was moving to LA, you know this story, but
Yeah.
when I was moving to LA, I drove from Salt Lake City to LA, and I'd only been to LA a couple times before moving here. And I was driving down, and when I got to Vegas, it was like 110 degrees.
Right.
In like the beginning of May. It was like the first week of May.
Out in the desert.
Yeah. And I had like a full-on freak out because I was like, it's 110 degrees in Vegas and LA is more south. Like I have to keep driving south, which means, is it going to be like 120 degrees in LA? Like,
No.
How hot is it going to be? I'm like freaking out. I was like, what did I do? And then of course I like keep driving. I get to LA, it's 85 degrees.
Yeah, LA is just the most comfortable weather of all time.
Yeah.
It's the best place on
I
earth
mean,
to
except for
live.
those like 2 weeks where it's really hot. But other than that,
it's like truly the best place on earth to live because you get the coastal experience, the
Yes.
mountain experience, the outdoor experience, and warm weather year round.
amen.
I mean, and dry.
You've traveled the
and
world.
dry air. Like you don't have to deal
Yes.
with moisture in the air.
Yes, and I don't have crazy allergies here.
Right. So it's
You-
it's wonderful.
You've traveled the world and you've learned that LA is the best place to live.
That or rural Switzerland.
Yeah.
I'm between
Yeah.
the two.
Let's go to rural Switzerland.
I would love to take you to where I went in Switzerland.
Yes.
It's on my bucket list.
Lauterbrunnen. Right?
Lauterbrunnen, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Interlaken and Lauterbrunnen.
I listen.
By the way, if you're watching or listening to this, when you're done, go Google Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland.
Yes.
And you will see the most gorgeous place on the planet.
Go watch the train videos.
Yes. You didn't know about those.
No, but I love it.
It made me feel a little dorky when I showed
No, I
you.
love it. I love it.
I used to, and still sometimes do, love falling asleep to like train 4K videos.
Yes.
Of like the front of a train going along a track. And there's a wonderful one from Interlaken to Lauterbrunnen, which is a train I actually took.
Right.
and you see just how gorgeous it is. So go look that up after this.
I wish we had more trains in America.
Yeah. I
Whatever
agree.
happened to those trains?
Yeah. And also, we would love to hear your best and worst travel stories. So
Yeah.
please let us know in the comments what your best and worst travel experiences were.
And how about this? If you're someone who can offer us travel to promote your product or brand, let us know.
Yeah, you can
Because
email
we
us.
will jump on it.
You can email us at let's talk about that pod@gmail.com. And on socials, by the way, we're on socials.
Yes, at Let's Talk About That Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And what, YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, you should watch this on YouTube if you're not watching it. If you're not watching it
All
already.
right. Well, what a heated day we've had here.
Really heated.
Larry's losing his voice. I feel
no, I'm good. I'm good.
I
was
feel
phlegmy.
horribly affronted.
Oh, yeah.
And offended and attacked.
Yeah, you'll never get over it.
And the macaroni and cheese incident will go down in history.
Yeah, and the mac and cheese is wasting away in the trash, whereas it could have been in my tummy.
All right, we'll see you next week with Larry's probably favorite guest of all time.
It's true.
Next week on the podcast. So stay tuned for that and see you next time.
On Let's Talk About That.
Let's talk about that. Bye.
Bye.